Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's look, we are doing a 70s Cher inspired look. Hence my hair being straightened for the first time in like 6 months. But yeah, this look is very full face, very different than the last couple looks I've done where it's been, all about very fresh and natural. We're not doing that today. I'm changing the whole way my face looks. And I was actually surprised how well my base turned out. So let's jump into it. So I am starting with my pore primer. This is my pore blur from Makeup Revolution. I needed the most flawless, flat, no hyperpigmentation, no discoloration type base for today because Cher skin is flawless then, now, and forever. So I wanted to start with a really good base. This is my favorite primer right now. It's affordable, it does its job, and it definitely makes my makeup last longer. So I am going in with my Pretty Fresh concealer. Now, normally I don't conceal my blemishes. However, I wanted to try putting the concealer on and letting it sit and get nice and tacky before blending it out. I have never done this before. I don't know why. I'm very impatient and I don't like waiting for stuff to dry. I don't like my makeup taking more than an hour, really. So I just like to get in and get it done. But today we're going to take our time. So I put all of this on, let it sit for a bit, went got some water, came back, and now we're blending it out with a wet beauty sponge. This one is from the Cream Shop, I'm pretty sure. And it's one of the softest sponges I've ever used, and I love it very much. So we're just blending that all out. Not enough so that it melts into the skin and is completely gone, but enough that when I put the foundation over top, it's not going to affect it too much. And with the shade of my foundation, it shouldn't really make a difference at all. So now I'm going in with the brightening powder from the e.l.f. quad that I have. And we're just going right under the brows with this. This is a very shimmery highlighter. So if you're one who hates a shimmery eyebrow highlight, this is not for you, but I thought it did wonders for my brow bone, especially once I filled my brows in. It was the absolute perfect shade, and with all the other shimmer I have going on in this look, it really doesn't end up affecting it too much. But yeah, it just lifted the brows so nicely, and I'm really pale, so for something to lift my brow bone, you know it's good. Now I'm going into the It's My Pleasure palette from ColourPop, and this is the color Fanfiction. These kind of eye looks from the 70s, they are not overly involved. There's only really like a couple shadows. There's not a whole lot of deep, dark definition. That was more of the 60s where they had a very cut, very pronounced crease. Whereas in the 70s, everything was very kind of about extending the lid, making the color go up past your crease. So that's what I did here. I just kind of used that as a transition color. And then I used Milky Way from the BH Cosmetics Galaxy Chic palette. So this is a really shimmery bake shadow. You could always use it wet. I chose to use it dry. It seemed to match the finish of the shadows used in all the pictures I was looking at, of just super shimmery but not overly pigmented either. Everything's very soft and kind of muted. Now that might be because of the pictures and the quality of the photos from back then, but I just love the way this ended up looking. So then I took this Tokidoki shadow that they don't make anymore and I've had for a super long time, but it's called Diamante, and you put a little bit of this over top. Basically, if you have any shadow that has a really chunky flecks of glitter in it. This has a really chunky silver glitter in it, and I just popped it on top, and it's just kind of a milky pink color, so it doesn't really affect the purple. So now for the liner, I did gel liner as always, and instead of doing a wing, we are just going to do a nice rounded out liner. There is very little lift that you see in the 70s. Again, that was a big 60s thing, was the big liner, and the 50s. So the 70s kind of took it down. There wasn't as many wings. People were still doing them, but it was a much different style. Everything was more, understated, more about the color, less about the big liner. So then I put on a ton of mascara because everybody had big, spidery, long lashes back then. This is the Mile High mascara from Wander Beauty. and I went in and put like 6 coats on my lashes. Even though I'm putting on falsies, it still helps give the look of these really big, long, stuck together type lashes. And I've never done this before with my lashes, at least not intentionally, but it definitely was an interesting look that added a lot of dimension. So now for the skin, I am just speeding through this part because the foundation was normal. This is my Superstay foundation from Maybelline. I haven't used it in a while, so I thought I would use it today. It's also a higher coverage foundation than my Conceal and Define, and that's what we were going for. So I just put some pumps of this on the back of my hand and then with my sponge pressed it into the skin. As you can see, it's a little bit more of a yellow base than my other foundation, which is more of a pink kind of neutral cool tone base, but I wanted something a little bit warmer that would respond to my contour a little bit better. And then I went in with my Pretty Fresh concealer again. This is the color, I think it's like light or fair 2, I think. It's pretty light. Like it's probably as close to white as you can get without it actually being white. So I just put this under my eyes, on my nose, because we're going to contour that, above my brow to give it even more of a lift, on my chin. And I always do my Cupid's bow, which people have asked me about like my lips and stuff before. My number one tip if you want your lips to look bigger is highlight that Cupid's bow. It brings so much attention to your mouth. And then I just took the concealer and took it right where I normally contour because we're going to be lifting the contour up higher today. So I wanted to make sure that I brought that portion of my face out because I'm going to be bringing the other portions of my face up higher. I'm going to be bringing them out differently. So I wanted to basically restructure my face. So I wanted this to be nice and sharp for when we do everything else. It would have a good contrasting line. And then I went right along my jawbone. Now there is a fine science to contouring your jaw. I don't always do it because sometimes it ended up looking like you have a beard. But I decided to do it today. So I added my liquid contour from NYX. This is in the shade Cinnamon. And I put it way up on top of my cheekbone rather than up underneath like I normally do. And then we blend it out. Obviously, this is sped up. I wish my contour would blend this quickly, but this took a really long time to blend out given all the different shades and just how I was kind of restructuring everything. So I'm just using a beauty blender to do all of this. And I blend my contour and my concealer with the same sponge. I know, sounds deranged, but I just flip the sponge around and everything ends up looking really nice and blended and cohesive. So it works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's cool. But it does for me. So I just went under my eyes, and now that you see I have my under eyes blended out, you can see how that contour is a lot higher. It's much more lifted and more focused on the top of my cheekbone rather than going underneath. So now I'm just taking a little bit of powder contour around my forehead just because the liquid contour is a little bit too dark for my complexion there. And then I added a little bit on top of the liquid contour just to set it and bring a little bit more warmth into the cheeks there because I want it to be nice and warm toned. There were a lot of nice warm tones in 70s makeup. So then I just took a light bit of the lightest contour and threw it on my nose and into the bridge of my nose and up to my eyebrow bone just to contour a little bit, just to match kind of Cher's features a little bit better because she obviously has much longer, sharper features than I do and always has. So I just wanted to change that up a little bit. For my blush, I'm using an orange shade. This is something I noticed too. A lot less people were wearing pink blush, and it was more orange, a little bit more natural, but they put on a lot of it. So I'm doing that up above the contour. So just to make sure that you're not bringing everything back down, you want to put that blush on top of the contour, or above it, I should say. So then I went into the darkest purple that was in the It's My Pleasure palette, and I just smudged a little bit of this on the lower lash line. There was a lot of like smudged out, smoky kind of shadow and liner under the lids back then. I think it was very interesting. Everything was light colors, but there was also a heaviness to the makeup. It's just all very interesting to me to study makeup history, and I'm a nerd like that where I'll just look up random stuff and research it for hours, and this was my hyperfixation of the day. So I added mascara to my bottom lashes because, again, everything was very heavy on the eyes, very pretty on the skin, kind of matte, light, bright, youthful looking, and then really heavy eyes. I mean, like super dark disco eyes. So then I added a little bit of white into the lower lash line and just cleaned it up a little bit with my finger because honestly a milk pencil is easiest to blend with your finger. And this is just to brighten up the lower lash line a touch and make my eyes look a little bit rounder and bigger. And then I lined my lips with my NYX pencil in Alluring. This is my favorite pink shade. I would say if you have like a true pink, like a little bit lighter, that would probably be more accurate to the era, but I don't have one that was like the perfect in between, like a neon pink and this. So this is what I went with. For the lips, I'm using this soft matte butter gloss from NYX. And this is a lip cream, not a gloss. I don't know what the shade name is, but I put this on first, and we are going to add a gloss to it because, again, I didn't have the perfect color, but I added this intense butter gloss over top because everybody had super glossy lips. So this is it. This is what it all looked like together. I really like the way it looked, and I think with the long straight hair, it is super helpful. And look how long my hair is getting. We love that it's actually growing for once. I'm trying to grow it back out. But that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.